It's me, yours truly, Robert Phoenix, and I'm back for another edition of the Astro Weather. And look who's here today. Oh boy. Rosie may be the Astro Weather cat, but Jasper is the Astro cat. That's right. He is the OG, the granddaddy. And he's here this morning to hang out. He's looking very fall, isn't he? He's looking very autumn. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's still around after all these years. The great Astro Cat himself. And his new pastime is hanging out in the bed with Peachy. Peachy's the Astro Weather Cat. Yes, you are. That's their new pastime. I go in there and it's like they're all cuddled up. I'm like, oh, what's going on here with you two? There's a thing happening here. So yeah. We're glad you're here, Jasper. That's right. That's right. The world is a better place with you. How is everyone? Look at that beautiful photo in the background. Yeah, I get to control the weather. Let's put it that way. Yes, I get to control it. That came out of my mind. That's how a beautiful sunrise should look in Massachusetts on a late autumn morning. Right there. All right. Who do we got in the house? Who's into his house? Michael Cisternino. DJ Pebblestone, 2:10 a.m. in New York, trying to get back to sleep. Were you wiki? DJ Pebblestone. And we got two DJs back to back. We got a freaking DJ army right there. Love to see you two go back and forth and kind of tag team. That'd be awesome. We'd have the Virgo Pisces thing going on too. Wow. It could be epic. Kanya Curtis. She's with us. Hey. Checked it in from the Greek Isles. Love it. Mary Lee's here. It's a balmy 37 in Nashville this morning. What a pretty image today. I am the pretty image maker. Good morning or greeting. I don't watch my morning language. Deborah Wheeler. The Jersey's back to back. Look at that. Scott and Christina, there they are. The Garden Gals with us today. Barbara Boots, have to run out. You always have to run. You always have to leave. Such is the life of a person with a purpose. Many purposes. Misbehaving too is here, feeling like the other shoe's about to drop. Yeah, this war thing is starting to get under my skin a little bit. And I've invited David to come on the show on Sunday night. And let's see if we can put that on the table and talk about it. Sue Leonard is with us today. Jackie DeLorio. It's going to be a lovely day. Platinum happiness. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank for all of you and Robert. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And gratitude back to you, dear Platinum happiness. We're glad you're here. And it was great to meet you this year. At the old get-together. Brandy Herrera, 52 in Chile in Sin City. My man Ryan, the introspective woodworker. There's locals. It's a way for you to support the show and support the work and hang out. We have our own little local space. Mary Grether. You know what? I went back and listened to a show, watched a show from might have been 2018. And I remember calling up, I listened to calling up Mary Grether's name. So Mary, at least since 2018, maybe even before that. Healing Heart Rosie, now Healing Heart Rosie is definitely a long-time listener, viewer. And we're connecting for a reading soon. Looking forward to that. Nora Rashid, the Queen of Speed, winging her way to the DFW, where she will stand by her lonely cowboys. Maya Rose is here. Susie Gemini. Look at that. We'll throw that up there. We're going to throw some thanks and good cheer up here today. Mr. Gray No More. Hey, coffee back at you, Mr. Gray No More. In fact, you can buy me a cup of coffee if you like over on Buy Me a Coffee, which is a link inside of the chat, show notes. Moira, thanks and blessings back to you, Moira, as well. 100. Lynette Jardine, also known as Mad Maxine. She's in the house with us today. Big Dave Sullivan. Turkey Day is tomorrow. Excited about having a day off. I think we got a Janine birthday coming up. By the way, Janine did a show with Jerry Marzinski, apparently. And I'm sure that it was, I got to listen to it. I'm sure it was great. So congratulations on that, Janine. Green-eyed Crow, 28 degrees, the first time it stuck outside, taunting me while I parked in front of my space heater. Yeah, that could be a real predicament. Catherine, I saw many of our community waiting here. Yes, there we are. Love you back, CR. That's right. Big hug. You guys are in a great space today. Really is beautiful. Looks warm. The sun is rising. The rays are gathering. There she is, the lovely and talented one, saving Austin one tooth at a time. Lena Winkler is here. Hi, Lena. Of course, we have the great Tom. And Thor at the door, my man Steve. Laura E is here. Carol Amore. Yes, don't forget to like and do subscribe. Subscribing always helps, no matter where our trajectory takes us. Lisa Ann White is here. The Law is in the house. Let's see. Here we go. Who else? Robin Dan and Darlene. Two people that have been participants at our yearly get-together. Darlene just down the road. Melissa Stanton is here. So is Moonsprout. Who else we have? Sun Tzu. Look at that photo background. Beautiful. It's right out of his brain. Jasper is adorable. He's still here too. You know what? You are dedicated today. Yeah, you're dedicated. Yeah, he's right. He's dedicated. Sun Tzu's in the Texas Hill Country. How about that? That is cool. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Without chemtrails. Yes. In my brain, in my mind, there is a world without chemtrails. Looking dapper. You know, this is what happens when you actually get up in the morning and take a shower and shave and decide to take care of your hair. It's an amazing thing. A little effort goes a long way, apparently. Let's see, who else do we have here? The sunrise soda goes with your lovely cup of coffee. The lovely cup of coffee is an important part. I hope you're all enjoying your own version of a lovely cup today. Kelly's here. Yes, for astrological readings, go right there. Hey, I got some Black Friday specials coming. And particularly for you supporting members over on Locals. You guys get the goodies. Everybody will get something, but you'll get the goodies. Matt Burns is here. Hey, Matt. Carolyn Greer checking in from New Brunswick. Look at that. Support the postal worker. Always support the postal. I was a postal worker for a while. A little over a year, I was a postal worker. I was a rural route carrier. And I delivered mail out of the same post office where David Crosby would come pick up his mail during his heavy freebase period. Harry Bowie, beat you up twice, cutting, stacking, and putting in the stove. Look at that. The Noga movement. Happy almost Thanksgiving. We'll take it. Killian Hart Rose is waiting for Costco to open, just sitting in my perfect parking space. Does anybody have a parking strategy with Costco? I do. First of all, my parking strategy in general is, and this has never failed me, by the way, never once failed me. My parking strategy is I, in my mind, am going to find the space closest to the place that I'm going to. Never fails. I may have to wait a minute or two. By the way, going around and driving for a spot never really works. Never works. Sometimes you get lucky. Usually, if you're not, if that space doesn't open up immediately, then what I do is I just sit and pick an aisle in an aisle that I like. And invariably, within a minute or two, somebody will come out and move their car. It's the best strategy, right? Absolute best. Devin Newer, checking in from San Antone. Happy Thanksgiving, Devin. Good to see you. We got a Kabuki Theater, Bo sighting in the house. Who else? Zerlith Immortal. Work and lurk. I love that. We got Neil Smith coming right in behind, and I think we're pretty much caught up. Green Eyed Crow. I asked Finding Angels for a parking spot. So life is a series of trade-offs. Am I right? I'm the person who parks far away to get the extra walking in. Yeah, I'm not that person. Even when I was young, I wasn't that person. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that sentiment. So life is a series of trade-offs. And I almost always get the parking spot that I'm looking for. What I don't get is the right line. I always pick the wrong fucking line. It's like, whoa, what happened here? What happened to this line? You know what I always do? I wind up picking the line that has drama. Like there's always something. Like there's a person returning something, or there's like a price issue and they're running around. I always find that line, even if it's short. I find that line. So parking spots, no problem. Lines, it's almost like the universe says, you're going to have a trade-off here. You're going to parking or lines. Which one is it going to be? I guess I chose parking. Although I did have a funny line experience 2 days ago at HEB. People in Texas, I got to say, there's some very good people in the chat from Texas. So I don't want to put everybody in the same lump of same sack of coal. People in Texas are, I don't want to use the word naive, but there is a certain innocence about people from Texas. Not innocent in the sense that they haven't done any transgressions or wrongdoings, because we all have. But the way that people socially interact in Texas is, at times it's friendly, especially if you're kind of in the community, but it's almost bubble-like in some ways. And what I mean by that is that they're not used to people kind of puncturing the bubble, which I like to do. So 2 days ago, I'm pulling into the 15 items or less line. And you know how as you come around the corner and you can't really see it, and somebody else doesn't really see you, and they kind of pull in front of you, right? It's not intentional. It's just the way it is. So this is what happens. And it's this Texan woman she's my age, maybe she's a little older. I don't know. It's hard to tell. She's small, seems, unlike a lot of other people in Kerrville, kind of well taken care of. I have to say that. She's pretty well taken care of. And slightly refined, maybe about 5'5" or 5'6". She's kind of, so I go to the other line. And then the next thing I know, I'm putting my stuff on the belt. And then she's behind me. And then there's another woman behind her, slightly younger, built a little bit differently. And she's behind me. And I look at her. I love to puncture the bubble. I said, oh, you're the person that cut in front of me in the other line. And the woman behind her was like, she was like shocked. And the woman behind, it was just a joke, right? And the woman behind me was like, well, yeah. I said, no, 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 I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Really. I said, but she did do it in a very polite kind of way, you know? And then, because, you know, I was kind of rolling with it. And so I was like, and now all of a sudden I feel like I'm kind of, you know, kind of on a roll, but in a hole at the same time. I said, but you're welcome to have my spot if you like. Because, I mean, technically she was in front of me in that way. And then, you know, but by this point, she's mortified. She's absolutely mortified that I think that she did that on purpose. I said, no, 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 I'm just kidding. I'm like, okay, I can't say anything more to this person because I'm gonna dig a deeper hole. So I just waited for my transaction to play out. I looked at her, I said, hey, have a happy Thanksgiving. And she smiled and said, happy Thanksgiving, right? So, but that's what I need about Texans. They don't, every now and then you'll get somebody who's a little hip. Every now and then, but for the most part, lovable country bumpkins. That's my experience. Lovable. The at times occasional naivete is adorable. Out of my way, white man. They're just more relaxed and detached because they know they can shoot you. I don't know, man. Maybe. I think it's because Texas, as a state, is Capricorn rising. Sorry, Capricorn sun and Capricorn moon. There's something about that level of. There's a bit of a formality about Texas. Here's what I like about people in Texas. If you respect them, they'll respect you back, and they'll basically leave you alone. Unless, of course, you are the occasional asshole like me who is not from Texas and doesn't really understand that code. That's okay. I always treat them well. Never rude. Well, not always. Sometimes. It depends. It's like, you know, some kind of, you know, officious asshole that works for the DMV. That's another story. All right. Let's get into it. We're almost at the peak. This is tomorrow. I think we'll get peak Sun Mars trine on Halloween. That'll be great. Right. So here we're at that's 27. That's 5. 27, and that's 8 degrees. So tomorrow we'll be at the tail end of the Sun Neptune trine, the peak, the absolute peak of the Sun Mars trine. We should have Mars at Leo tomorrow with the Sun and Sag at 6-6. So this is the tail end of the Grand Trine. Enjoy it. Have an extra slice of pie or two. Remember, the motto for Sagittarius is anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So we got that nice trine to Neptune there, you know, being kind to people, telling people how much you care about them and appreciate them, and you're thankful for them, and you get to do it with a little extra serving of love over there. And it's a beautiful thing, right? It's an absolutely beautiful thing. So don't be shy about it. Don't be shy. We do have the Sun now moving into a tighter square with Saturn. So while this is reaching a peak and a crescendo, it gives way to the Sun-Saturn square, which means that people are tightening their belts and tightening their budgets this year. It'll be interesting to see how people are spending if we're not all in a bunker somewhere. And that Sun-Saturn square, we talked about that yesterday, and that's all about taking on conventional authority, especially religious and moral authority. And I just keep thinking about this clash that is brewing inside of the mega world, right? So you have people who are very, very clear-sighted, in my opinion, and understand that there are people in this world who are power players. And it's not just the Democrats or the generic swamp, right? There's a thing called APAC. And APAC is a lobby that, APAC was started? APAC was started after the sinking, the attempted sinking of the USS Liberty. It was like Israel said, oh, we need to control the spin on some of this stuff. Well, why don't we start a lobby? That's how APAC was started. APAC, of course, is the Israeli lobby. It represents a state. It should be registered as a foreign agent, but it is not. And this is what Thomas Massey has said. So over the last year and a half, Elon Musk has kind of let Twitter be an open space, right? So you have people like Jake Shields who will go on there and talk openly about the JQ, Dan Bilzerian, JQ, Candace Owens, JQ, Stu Peters, JQ. All these people are bringing up the JQ. And when I say the JQ, I'm talking about the JQ in the most negative manifestation of that word or that sense, right? Which is a group of people who have separated themselves from another group of people because they are, quote unquote, chosen, right? And not everybody in that world believes that. They may have some pride in their background, they may have some pride in their traditions, but the really enlightened people out of any religious faith, I don't care which one it is, the really enlightened ones get that we are all children. We are all sparks of divine creation. That there is no one group that is more chosen than the other. That's the way it is. People who have that sense of enlightenment, it may not be total enlightenment, but enlightenment enough to realize that this idea that any one group has a closer perch to the creator are dealing in a realm of illusion. So whether you're at the top of the caste system in India, right, or whether you are a dispensationalist Christian who, if you kind of live your life in a pious sort of way, you go to church on Sunday, your mega church on Sunday, that because you believe you're going to have the front row seat for Armageddon during the rapture, whatever. We'll just throw them all in one bucket, right? But what's happened is that those groups that I talked about, by the way, if you wanted to slam or you wanted to question the caste system, nobody would blink an eye. Like they'd be like, okay, well, you're having a cultural moment, right? You're noticing something about the caste system in India. Nobody would say anything. If you wanted to go all in on the dispensationalists and just say, you guys are an arrogant group of fucking, religtards or whatever you want to call them, right? Like, how can you ascribe to this? If there's, for me, like, let's say you're a Bedouin, let's say you're a member of the Tuareg tribe, and you're not a Christian, right? So let's say the call of Christianity has not reached your ears, and you live this interesting Bedouin lifestyle, and you have a code of ethics and honor, and you treat people right. Like, are you damned to go to hell because you didn't get the word? I don't believe that. Right? I'm sorry. I just don't. There's kind of an arrogance there, just in my opinion. And I'm not here to diss Christians in general. I'm just here to shine a spotlight on the dispensationalists because they can be really arrogant, and they can have a shitty diet. Right? Look at that guy, John Hagee. He's a couple of Big Macs and extra double malt away from having a fucking cardiac arrest, right? Like, they don't take care of themselves. And I see this here also in the hill country. A lot of the people that don't take care of themselves they go to church every Sunday. right? Because they're not really thinking about this life in their body for the most part, right? They're thinking about the afterlife. And as long as they go through the motions, well, they'll get to the afterlife where they can eat Big Macs, not gain a single pound for eternity. All right, so I've been fair here in my assessment. Now we get to the chosen, right? And it's like that's another version of what I'm talking about. So this is starting to come up now. Why? Why is this so, right? And why is this group disproportionately representing people in the United States government? And why do they have the access to be dual citizens while other dual citizens? By the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mehmet Oz from Turkey is a dual citizen. You can look that up. He served in the Turkish army, by the way. He might even be Turkish intelligence, for all I know. But this is coming up now, right? And it's coming up, and people are questioning, why is this so? Why is this so? And this is the Sun-Saturn square. And now you have people inside the Trump administration, like Pam Bondi, who are dead set against, so-called hate speech. If you were to slag a Christian or slag, the Brahmin caste in the Hindu world, or you were to slag the Khomeinis, right, in the Muslim world, nobody would bat an eye. But you notice something about another group, and all of a sudden you have to have your tongue cut out. Well, why is that? Right? This is the Sun-Saturn square. And in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is truthful to a fault, right? It's truthful to a fault. And, we want to be fair in our assessments of anybody or any group, right? But if one group continually shuts down the debate and the dialogue, then it becomes a bit problematic because it's a no-go zone. I'm just here to keep it real and be fair about it. Sun-Saturn square, it's going to happen. People inside inside MAGA world. This is where it all started. People inside MAGA world are sitting around and they're noticing some of these appointments. And we're having, some people are having kind of a what the fuck moment. Now, I've had no illusions about who or what would pick. By the way, we'll talk more about that. But it's coming up. It's like, oh, which country is first here? I thought this was America first. Interesting, right? So it's going to get stronger and stronger as the sun keeps moving into that tighter square with Saturn. Mercury is retrograde. Look at that. So we're looking back in time. And today on 15 Minutes of Flame, I have decided to do a style makeover of the Axis powers, including Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. So my contention is that if these leaders had a different style or look about them, that World War II might have gone a little bit differently. So I'm reimagining the players of World War II. You're going to want to watch that. A little bit of levity for the gravity that we're in. But Mercury retrograde is good, though, especially in Sagittarius. Because what it does, like for each of us, like Mercury Sagittarius, I know it's in its detriment, right? It's almost better if it's retrograde. I mean, I don't have a problem with Mercury Sagittarius in general. Like Mercury Sagittarius, classic Mercury Sagittarius, they'll say something. People who has Mercury and Sag, some of you do. You'll say something, or you'll know somebody who's like this. They'll say something, and like there's a truth behind it, right? But it's so it's so outlandish, but it's true on some level. But it's like, well, how did you get there? Where is your proof of work? Right? Gemini is the proof of work. It's like, well, this is how I got there. There's this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And you add it all up and you get this. Mercury in Sagittarius doesn't do that. Mercury in Sagittarius just gets right to the end. Like right to the end. and says, here it is. Here's the truth. Or here's my truth. And guess what? They're probably right? But it's so audacious in the moment. And it's like, just show us a little proof of work here. That's all we're asking for. Right? Ain't nothing wrong with it. Just show us a little proof of work. And that's the beauty of Sagittarius. This reminds me, Mercury and Sagittarius retrograde. This reminds me, like, when I was a kid, and I know a lot of you did this too, you would have those little mazes, with the pencils and stuff. And you get to the center. I would always start in the center. And then I would work my way back to the beginning. And that was really easy. Like, I could do those mazes in a matter of seconds just by starting in the center and going backwards. Nobody said, well, you have to start here. We go, no, start in the center and go backwards. Work backwards. Like, start from the answer and then evolve to the question. That's a good practice for Mercury retrograde. We've got the moon in Libra today, 24 degrees. We're just keeping it fair, keeping it real, right? Just keeping it fair. It's squaring today. It's squaring Venus in Capricorn. So by the time we get to Thanksgiving, we'll have that moon in Scorpio, and it'll be a balsamic moon, right? So we're coming into a balsamic moon phase. And there's something really interesting about this balsamic moon, especially in light of where we are geopolitically. It's like, wow, what are we letting go of? Like, what, I have heard, now this is just a rumor again. We live in a time of unsubstantiated rumors that there's going to be a blackout before Thanksgiving, which would be today. Now, maybe this moon in Scorpio, which is dark, right? And it's balsamic. Maybe just maybe we're in blackout city here. But I think this is how do I characterize this moon? I think it's a very melancholic moon, actually. Because we may have this sense, right, that this may be the last Thanksgiving that we experience in the way that we experience it. 2025, all bets are off. I'm just telling you. 2025, things are going to get really, really turbulent. And because we have Pluto in Aquarius, so sort of the new is on the wing. Right? The new is on the way. And it's not easy at times to make a transition to something new. And when we get into this moon Pluto square, as soon as, that's what, early tomorrow morning, right? So here in the United States, where we have our little Thanksgiving festivities, we have the moon Pluto square, which is very intense, and that brings up scenarios with, guess what? Your liberal family members. Oh, the first shared holiday post 2024 election. Have fun with that. Have fun with that. Now, luckily, a lot of these so-called thought leaders have been telling people to boycott their family get-togethers and festivities. Isn't that nice of them? Instead of saying, hey, we took the L. We took the L. What, just show up. This gets into a much deeper philosophical topic. And the deeper philosophical topic is showing humility and grace. Right? Showing humility and grace. This is not always an easy thing for most people to do, because a lot of us, myself included, a lot of us operate on a program of pride. Like, there's good pride positive pride and negative pride. The positive pride is like our friend Ryan, the introspective woodworker. He takes pride in the things that he does, in his craft, right? He takes pride in that. There's nothing wrong with that. To me, that's positive pride. Negative pride is when your ego gets attached to something and you know that you're not right, or you know that you're forcing your position in spite of everything else that says, hey, step it down, step off. That's negative pride. So the question here is, what would Jesus do? Right? Like if Jesus had to take an L, would he, stomp around and lecture people about it? No, I don't think so. Like there's this idea of practicing grace and dignity and humility. And just think if people could actually do that. So we'll set up the scenario here. Okay, we have a predominantly conservative family, maybe one or two progressive types, maybe one more extreme than the other, and the one that's more extreme sort of eggs the other on because they're willing to be more provocative and contrarian, right? Well, let's say that person has a change of heart and says, look, I'm going to go into this get together and I'm just going to enjoy the company of my family. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to make this political at all. And we took an L, right? We took an L here. So that person shows up and everybody who is going to be in attendance expects this person to be mouthy and complaining, and get a few glasses of wine in them, and all of a sudden you've got like a row. And they don't do that. They don't do that. And they may be expecting it, and who knows, they may even try and egg that person on. But if that person doesn't do it, what happens? It changes the dynamic completely. It changes the dynamic completely. And so the people that are there who might want to poke and get under her skin or his skin or whatever, right? Like they realize they can't do it. And it's like, wow, look at that. They've actually kind of rejoined the human race. And now there's a sense of, well, maybe we're the ones now that are holding on to our pride. We don't have to rub their noses in it. Like this is how we get together. Like at some point, somebody has to say, I'm not participating in that. I'm not going to be that person that you think I am. But it takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot to let go of the pride and say, first and foremost, I'm a member of the family. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a progressive. I'm not anything but Trump, or anyone but Trump. I am a member of the family. And that's all these things are not going to get in the way of that. Unfortunately, a lot of people have so much grievance, and especially with this Scorpio moon, it's like there's great potential for the Scorpio moon because you can flip it and transform it, but there's also like a heavy digging in with that Scorpio moon, especially the first few degrees of it coming in and squaring Pluto. Wow. So you can change things. You can change them forever. It's a fixed situation, right? But in order to do that, you got to let go in the balsamic position. So even if you're playing host and you're more on the conservative tip or the freedom tip or the truth tip or whatever you want to call it, right? Like you have to even let go of your position. You have to surrender that in the balsamic moment. What's the most important thing? That in that moment in time, you realize that you are blessed. Because there are a bunch of people in the world that aren't. There are people that are lonely. Like they have no family members, or their family members have been so brutal and dehumanizing that they don't. And I'm not talking about fake brutal and dehumanization. sort of this kind of conflated fiction, right? Maybe there have been some transgressions, but people that have been, sexually violated over and over again and want nothing to do with, their biological family. And as a result of that, their lives are so damaged that they can't even begin to allow anybody else into them, right? So this is the thing that we have to focus on, is what we have and what we, and even in this country, the United States, or even in the West, and it's not ideal, we still have a lot. We still have a lot. We have a lot to be grateful for and thankful for. And you can make a difference. There can be some major transformation with this balsamic moon, but you got to let go of your pride. Either way, you got to let go of it. And it's hard. It's really hard. It's like one of those things where, I had my very first and probably best spiritual teacher that I ran into was about 19 years old. He would tell me the last thing to go. What he meant was the last thing to go in terms of our human attachments is judgment. That's the last thing to go, is judgment. And here with this moon in Scorpio, squaring Pluto, like there's a lot of judgment in the air. And that hard square, you slam right into it. But guess what? If you can get through it, you can transform it. Because what happens is that the moon is also going to move into a trine with Saturn. So you can reset this emotional matrix, right? And then it moves into a trine with Neptune, and there you can flow into grace and forgiveness. And then we have that new moon in Sagittarius, and it's like, hallelujah. Right? So this is a very interesting phase for the moon. Very interesting. We got some yods today, too. Look at that. One of them is with the moon and Neptune and Uranus. And what we're doing is we're actually looking, right? We're looking at the moon and its place in this cycle that we're in right now. Neptune and Uranus are the back end. Neptune is, can you forgive? Can you let go? Can you apply this idea of grace? And with Uranus back here, can you shift it on a moment's notice? The other yod is Uranus itself. And guess who's there with it? The moon and Mercury coming in, right? And again, thought and feeling. Can you shift the momentum, right? And even the Uranus retrograde is interesting. It's like, can we go back in time? Make our family great again. Can we go back in time and do that? I think we can, but not without some degree of effort and conscious awareness. All right, we're running behind today. Let's get into the star of the day. And I got to do something a little bit different with the star of the day. First of all, let me do this. I'm going to have to go back in here, and I'm going to go full. Hold on, because I got to turn these into a mini. And let me run the banner here. Let me run the banner. All right. I don't want to do this just yet. Let's just do this. Then we're getting to the start of the day. Okay. True Hemp Science. True testimonial. Tom's in chat. He took half a gummy last night, and he slept like a baby. He slept like a baby. So when you order $100 or more from True Hemp Science, and you type in 15MINS, you're going to get the goodie bag, and you're going to get at the very least, you will get a packet of gummies and at least one dropper of something like Dose. Very good value. You may get a little more. I don't know what Chris is putting in those good. That's the baseline, right? And these are high quality CBD products, completely organic. And Chris is such a mad scientist. He's now working on a nicotine tincture for people that want to be able to get off of cigarettes. And I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that. But, oops. But it's true. I'm just giving you an idea. So what kind of a mad scientist he is. Anyway, you're going to get the best CBD products available. And all you got to do, type in 15MINS, $100 or more, you get the free stuff, and $150 more, you get your free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money back guarantee. All right. Let's get rid of the banner. And I got to do something. I'm doing something new for the star of the day. Let's do this. Today's True Hemp Science star of the day is none other than Jimi Hendrix. Now, I always found it fascinating that Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Lee, even though they're born in different years, are born on the same day, and both, for the most part, grew up in Seattle, Washington. And they both have mixed heritage. Jimi Hendrix's mother was Japanese, and Bruce Lee's, I think, grandfather was Jewish and moved to Hong Kong. So Bruce Lee has some so-called Caucasian in him, and Jimi Hendrix has some so-called Japanese or Asian in him. So they're both interesting examples of sort of this mixed, genetic makeup, right? They go to the same high school in Seattle, same high school. I think it's up on Cap Hill, if I'm not mistaken. Same high school as Quincy Jones, by the way. And they're both born on the same day. So I always found that very interesting, just in terms of these connections between the two of them. And then eventually they wind up migrating. Well, here, let me give you a different sort of compare contrast. Bruce Lee was a kind of a child star in Hong Kong. He was in movies. He was a dancer and a child star in Hong Kong, and he has to leave Hong Kong because he got into a fight, and I think he stabbed somebody, and so that's how he gets to Seattle. And it's when Bruce Lee comes to America that he becomes a star. And for Jimi Hendrix, he had to go to England to be a star. This is what happens. He winds up going from New York to England, and he explodes onto the scene. He just blows people's minds, right? So we have Neptune in the 9th house, and Neptune is accidentally exalted in the 9th house, and that's travel. So when he goes to England, he's really channeling Neptune, isn't he? This is how the 9th house works. So if you have planets in the 9th house and you travel, guess what? They get activated because you're engaging in the 9th house activity. So Neptune gets activated, 9th house, and what's it doing here? Well, we have Venus and the Sun and Mercury in a stellium, fairly tight, sextiling Neptune. Saturn, this is all the hard work he put in playing the guitar. Now, what's interesting about Jimi Hendrix is that he doesn't start playing the guitar until, 15? He starts playing the guitar in high school. And he gets discovered, for all intents and purposes, in 1967. So he's 25 years old. 25 years old. And, you hear these stories about Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck. And a lot of these guitar players, I got my first guitar at the age of 5 when my dad got it for me for Christmas. Like, Jimi Hendrix doesn't start playing until he's like a freaking sophomore in high school. But then he lives with that guitar from that point forward. So it's an amazing kind of ability to grasp something very quickly, right? And I feel like that the intuitive component with Hendrix is right there with that sextile with Neptune. And I think Saturn here is also very important because it's in the sixth house. And, you know, you look at Hendrix's output, it's pretty tremendous for a very brief period of time. Like he's like 66, we'll say generously, 66 to roughly 1970, 4 years. And he puts out like three incredible studio albums. And then he records a posthumous album, Cry of Love, which I think is a very underrated album. And to me, that's Saturn in the sixth house, right? That's also the arduous practice. But it's also kind of with retrograde Saturn, it's almost like relearning something versus learning it. And you've got that trine to Neptune with Saturn. The other thing that's interesting about Hendrix's chart is, with the exception of Uranus and Saturn, there's nothing below the horizon. And even these two planets are incredibly transpersonal. And you can add them up, by the way. And it's like, this is a guy who hits the mainstream very fast with Uranus. Very, very fast. And then we go over here, and it's like, well, look at what we got here. His true node is conjunct Regulus in Leo. Look at that. Like, how Leo is this? With all the hair. Like major hair. It's very dramatic. And he very rapidly rises to the top of rock and roll royalty. If there is a Mount Rushmore of rock and roll, Jimi Hendrix's face is on it. And there's really very little debate about it. Very little debate. And he's in it for the creativity. And it's his true node that is the most stressed part of the chart. You know, Saturn, Uranus squared the true node. And even his Sagittarius planets, fire sign, still squaring the true node. It's a tension there. And when I think of this Saturn-Uranus square, you know, he had this manager, Mike Jeffrey, who's a total creep. He used to brag to people that he worked for the CIA. Very bizarre, right? Squaring off against his true node. Also, this is Saturn. His dad, Al, was not a great guy. He was very abusive towards Jimmy's mother. His mother leaves, right? And Spanish castles made of sand, that's really about his mother. And how their marriage just crumbled into the sea. It was like this sand castle, and it wasn't very strong, and the ocean takes it away. Water themes are very prevalent in Hendrix's music, with Neptune being up here at the top of the chart, right? So let's talk about Mars. Wow, he's got Mars in Scorpio. Like Hendrix is sex personified. He's got this Mars, Scorpio, trine Jupiter, trine the moon in Cancer. So he's very shy as well. That's another component of Hendrix. He's very shy. He's also very kind. If you ever watch any interviews with him, he's always complimentary about other players. And, talking about Terry Kath. Oh, he's the best guitarist in the world right now. He must have said that about three different people. He said the same thing about Robert Fripp. I think he said the same thing about ZZ Top guy, right? Like, he's always extremely complimentary. He's generous, right? He's very generous in praise in terms of others, and he's also very shy. And let's just take his son, and we'll put his son into the 12th house, right? In Placidus astrology, anytime you get into this, 5-degree zone, you're talking sun in the 12th house. You're reading for the next house. It could be the sun, Mercury, whatever. You're reading for the next house. So Hendrix has this mythic archetypal quality, right? We're looking at Mars here for the 11th house. What do we know about Jimi Hendrix? What is Jimi Hendrix's most iconic moment? It's playing the Star Spangled Banner. Where? Woodstock. What is Woodstock? It is a group experience. His most iconic moment. He's got his ascendant is at 24 Sagittarius. It's conjunct the galactic center. When Jimi played, that's what he tuned into. That's what he tuned into. He's got this Pluto trine the Sun, Pluto trine Mercury, Pluto trine Venus. He's jacked in. Jimi Hendrix is jacked in to the universe. Like if there's a chart that I could say, this guy's plugged into the universe, the cosmos, these kind of astral themes, not just in his music, but what would go through him, it's Jimi Hendrix. And the lack of anything below the horizon, with the exception of these two kind of outer planets, makes him a spaceman. He's all out there, right? What's interesting is this Chiron at 29 degrees, and this is right around the time he dies. 29 degrees Leo. Jimi Hendrix is part of the 27 Club. He doesn't even hit. I don't think he even hits 29. Doesn't even get to his Chiron or his degree of Chiron, but it's there, right? It's there. That is the stop sign in Jimi Hendrix's chart. It's very fascinating, this position of Chiron. So if you're not familiar with this music, I would say check it out, and listen to it from this perspective of aquatic themes, astral themes, cosmic themes, and even at times, the sort of supernatural world, like Voodoo Child, right? That's like Mars in Scorpio, trining Jupiter in Cancer. When he's at Monterey Pop and, he's high on acid and he's taking his guitar and he's pouring the butane on it. It's like a ritual. It's like a fire ritual. And it's very shamanic in some ways, but more shamanic in sort of this, Western African kind of tradition, right, that we associate with voodoo or Yoruba or Candomblé, like some of these traditions, right? Like he's in that pocket in that moment. His music really affected me as a kid. Loved Jimi Hendrix. And I've got my Jupiter as a conjunct his ascendant, so there you go. Jimi Hendrix. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that'll do it. Come join us. We're a little bit late, but I'll be over on 15. We got a fun show planned for today. And to all of you, I wish you a Merry Thanksgiving. And I will not be doing a show tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday, and we'll have some good Black Friday stuff for all you locals and all you loyals. Until then, take care of each other. God bless.